for me as a lawyer, then what's so hard with all of this is that, each of those hearings, like, it's like preparing for trial, like where you don't know what the date's going to be, and you're preparing for a bunch of different trials at the same time. You got to get people there who are ready to speak, present our side, and then respond to the other side. But it's a trial that you don't get to fucking cross-examine anybody. The only way this process works is if people on the committee are paying attention, well informed, and willing to ask questions and push back.
Welcome to Seriously, the podcast that dives into the baffling.
We can't send them to a prison where there's animals, where there's livestock.
The ridiculous.
Like omelets better than sex.
And downright unbelievable political climate in red states like Louisiana.
So we can't go there. There's no vegan jail.
Seriously.
Welcome to Seriously. We are going to have a really great interview with Representative Delisha Boyd, a state representative here in Louisiana, later in the show.
I'm excited about that.
It's a really great interview. But before we do that, was there anything that has happened recently, Ellie, that made you think seriously?
I think my seriously moment is going to continue on the theme of the rule of law. That's happening at the national level, and also how Louisiana is apparently playing a part in this. So I'm talking specifically about what's going on with immigration and people being just like picked up off the street and absconded away.
Disappeared.
Yes, like people who have not been charged with a crime, and from what everyone can tell, aren't actually even accused of a crime. Like just basically like political dissidents are, being sent to jail basically to be deported. And the video that came out recently with the woman in Boston where she's accosted on the street by people who have on like law enforcement with masks on, who don't identify themselves, and then basically just kidnap her. So that's terrifying enough. And then people, if they're not being sent directly to El Salvador, which that of course is another thing that's happening, then they're being sent to an ICE detention center in South Louisiana. That's what I keep hearing on the news, is that's where people are being sent. So I don't know what that ICE detention center is, but apparently in Louisiana, then we are complicit in this legalized kidnapping of people who are being disappeared here.
Completely. This has really been freaking me out a lot. But it is no surprise with our governor here, who is a complete Donald Trump sycophant, that Louisiana would be a #1 state for carrying out this administration's presumably illegal rendition of people that, like they're snatching off the streets.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, people's lawyers don't know where they are. Family members don't know where they are. Judges are telling the administration, like, you can't move these people, and they're moving them anyway. That happened with the folks that were taken to a prison in El Salvador.
Yeah.
And then also with this woman recently in Boston, then again, a judge in that case issued an order saying you cannot remove her from the state. And like, the administration claims, we'd already moved her. Like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I mean, when Trump was, before he took office or when he was taking office, then the governor here made some sort of comments about that the federal government could use private prisons here for ICE detention center for ICE. So I don't know if this is a private prison, but that's a whole other issue, of course, about who's making money on these illegal actions.
Right.
So I think this seriously deserves some investigating.
Yeah.
About what's going on.
I think we should get to the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll reach out to some of the folks that we know that are doing immigration law in the state and see if we can't get them on the podcast later.
What are you seriously concerned or freaked out or pissed off about, Michelle?
Oh God. Okay. A 24-year-old woman in Georgia is behind bars after having a miscarriage. So this is what happened. The police in Georgia arrested this young woman after she was found unconscious and bleeding near her apartment complex. They have charged her with two things: concealing the death of another person and abandonment of a dead body. So, from reporting, it seems like she was about 19 weeks pregnant and she had this miscarriage. She put the miscarried tissue in the trash. They recovered that, I guess, from the trash, and they did an autopsy on the fetal remains. And the coroner's office did rule that it was a miscarriage. There was no foul play or anything like that that the coroner found. So my question is, what the fuck else was she supposed to do? Because hospitals are turning away people who are having miscarriages. They're not being treated in a lot of hospitals in banned states. They're being sent home without any sort of standard of treatment for miscarriage. They're told to go home, have the miscarriage at home. So what the fuck was she supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously this is somebody who's in the middle of a medical trauma,
Right.
medical and probably emotional trauma. And then we're going to charge this person with a crime on top of that.
Two crimes.
Yeah. I mean, and we've seen, for years now, laws like that being used to prosecute people for pregnancy outcomes. But I think it's also interesting and worth noting with those two crimes that it's also like backdoor into personhood, right? They're both laws that sound on their face that they are supposed to apply to a fully born alive person who then is dead. And what is and is not legal to do with those remains. So again, once we start using that to prosecute people for a pre-viability miscarriage, then that's part of the point, I assume.
I guess so. Really disturbing. And this Georgia case is the most recent example, but I think that this is happening in other parts of the state. And I think that really what it highlights is you can put into your criminal abortion ban that the pregnant person is not supposed to be subject to that criminal law, but there's all kinds of other laws that are on the books in states that can be used to criminalize pregnant people for what happens with their pregnancy, whether it's a miscarriage, whether they self-manage their own abortion, whether they are addicted to, they have substance abuse issues, and that led to the end of their pregnancy somehow or another. Those laws are very commonly being weaponized against pregnant people.
Right, in a way that you would not assume that those laws should apply.
Exactly.
And as some of our viewers know, Representative Mandy Landry has, for several years now, introduced a bill that would try to prevent that. That would put like an affirmative exception in the law writ large that people cannot be prosecuted or penalized for their pregnancy outcomes. And what is it that we hear, Michelle, in opposition to that bill?
That there's already that protection in the criminal abortion ban. So this isn't necessary. We don't need this. We don't need this.
Right. There's already an exception in the abortion ban that says the pregnant person can't be prosecuted.
Right.
So, yeah. And as we also know, I mean, our legislature, they only pass bills that are really necessary.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Seriously.
obviously. That's bullshit.
Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to talking to Rep. Boyd about all of the fuckery going on day in and day out at the Capitol.
Yeah. Yeah. She has a lot to say. She has a lot to say. So we will be back with that interview in just a minute. We're really excited to welcome to the podcast State Representative Delisha Boyd. Rep. Boyd was elected in 2021 and has been a fierce advocate for reproductive freedom and other progressive policies. She's a real firebrand, I would say. Never backs down from a fight with her right-wing colleagues. So Rep Boyd, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Great place to be.
Our first in-person guest.
Yay! Can I clap?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that gonna mess it up?
Thanks for being our guinea pig today.
No problem.
So we have a lot that we would like to talk to you about. We're really interested in how you see things, the state of things right now. We're in abortion ban America here in Louisiana, and we also have, a MAGA Republican administration. And I think I just wanted to start by talking about how Louisiana's abortion ban doesn't include an exception for people who become pregnant as a result of sexual violence like rape and incest. But you want to change that. So for the last 2 years, you've pushed to try to include that exception in the law. So talk to us about why this is so important to you.
Okay. So I am basically the product of that. My mother was 15, and one of her family friend was 28, and she was raped. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I usually refer to him as my sperm donor, but she was 15. He was 28. And in 1968, she didn't have a choice, and not to say that they would have chosen to do that. I don't know. I spent most of my life just pissed. So I didn't ask hardly any questions and didn't think of it as a 15-year-old girl being under the control of a grown man, because I was a kid myself. So a lot of stuff I just didn't get and didn't really care. I just was focused on what was happening to me, right? And so when I guess when I got older and maybe curious, because it was just never talked about. That I don't know if that happens in all families, but I hate to make this racial, but in Black families, it's usually we don't talk about stuff like that.
I think that's the same in Jewish families.
It's also the same in WASPy families. So yeah.
Okay, so
not talking about problems.
Yes,
particularly secrets, I think is unfortunately or fortunately,
right,
a running theme.
And so it wasn't talked about. I didn't think about it. When she died, I moved in with my grandmother, who was, I guess, hell bent on me and my brother, who was like 5 at the time, taking us in a different direction, because she kind of just went like a wild child.
Your
probably
mom.
probably dealing with the demons that she had going on. I mean, at 56, I could see all of that now.
Right.
But as a kid, you just see this wild child kind of thing. And then when I moved in with my grandmother, I was like, well, shit, it wasn't my grandmother. So she just was a wild, because we just never talked about it. So I was just formulating all these ideas of who she was based on my experience with my grandmother. I swear, guys, I was like 40 when it just hit me. I don't even know why. I didn't think about it when I turned 15. I didn't think about it when I turned 28, because she was 28 when she died. I thought about how young that really was.
Yeah.
But not the circumstances that probably led to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, as an adult with a daughter, and my daughter was always every bit of her true age. She wasn't like 10 going on 20 or 15 going on 21. And I remember when she turned 15 thinking, oh my God.
She's really young.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
It didn't hit me when I turned 15. It didn't even hit me when I
because we
turned
think
28.
we're pretty old when we turn 15.
Yes, grown. At least my grandmother's probably laughing right now. She always says she had to focus more on my brother because I came to her as a little adult. Because I had a lot of responsibilities with my brother, who to this day still calls me his mama sister mom. And so when Chrissy turned 15, I remember being overwhelmed with grief because I had been so hard on my mother my entire life. even after she had died.
Yeah.
You know.
You have been very brave about sharing your personal story,
Mhm.
not just today.
Mhm.
I've seen you share it at the legislature
Mhm.
in front of your colleagues.
Mhm.
What
And this is a
what
different side because I never talk about me in
yeah,
committee. I always just talk about. I don't want this to be about me and what I endured because I have survived it and thrived through it.
right.
She did not.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
that's a lot of
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
driving you.
Hmm.
How has it been sharing your personal story in that forum?
Um, that first year was pretty difficult because I had
Mhm.
not that I was embarrassed by it. I just lived my life saying I'm not a victim of it.
Yeah.
So I just, you know what I mean? If that, I don't know if that makes sense to people, but I didn't. And again, not embarrassed by it, but I knew at that moment because the year before I didn't, and the spirit was telling me to get up when they got up and told Pat Moore's story.
Right.
But this was my second session. We had redistricting was my first session because I got elected late November in 2021. So my first session was the redistricting session. The next regular session started, I think, in April. So I was new, still trying to figure out my ways. And although I was passing bills, I did go to the floor and I just talked about what my focus is. Little girls' bodies not being strong enough to withstand carrying a full. I did talk about that.
Right.
And Pat was out for some reason. I think Lori Schlegel got up and told her mother, read a statement from Pat. And the spirit was like, you cannot let that be. And I didn't say anything. So that was a huge struggle for me after. But I wrote our dear governor a letter.
Our dear governor at the time, who was a Democrat.
Yes.
I wrote that dear governor
But
some
to this
letters.
day, he has never responded to my letter.
Yeah.
So I shared my mother's story for the first time to him and Matthew Block.
Mhm.
And I'm still waiting on a response from that. Now, the next year when I ran the exception, he was all, well, I don't need your ragged ass now because if you had taken care of it beforehand, you
That
know.
might have been I think that was the year I'm trying to remember. There were various times that we were all lobbying the then
Mhm.
governor to veto bills, but this might have been then, yeah, when like the final trigger ban was passed.
Yes, it
And
was.
when he
Mhm.
signed it like immediately, so that there wasn't time for people to lobby him to veto it. It's either that one or maybe that was the 6-week ban the year
So
before, but I was furious. I mean,
I didn't even ask him to
furious.
veto the bill because I knew his position.
Mm-hmm.
You have to create an exception for rape and
Right.
incest. And this is why.
But he knew that that was not in the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
And he signed it
And he
anyway.
signed it anyway. So I think, that first year was probably the biggest for me. I had to call and talk to my brother about it. I don't know that he knew the full story because he was a baby himself. He knew her struggles. And he remembers way more than you. I think my survival was to put things in Pandora's
Right.
box and lock it and move on.
Mm-hmm.
He has always been chatty catty. He want to talk about everything that happened, and he remembers everything. I remember when I was in kindergarten. And remember Mama did? No, I don't remember that.
The younger ones are always bringing up old shit.
Yes.
In my family too.
and so talked to him about. He was like, I've been trying to get you to talk about this more. My brother is an author. He writes books and stuff. So he wanted to do a book about our childhood. And 2 years before that, I told him, I said, I can't do that. I'm going to support you and you doing it, but I don't want to relive it. Fuck, it's over. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. You said I could curse.
You
Oh
can
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
And so he asked if he should come down. I said, I'll let you know. I don't think so. I wasn't anticipating the people on that committee being as bad as they were.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask you
Yes.
about, because bills related to abortion all go to the Criminal
Criminal
Justice
justice,
Committee in the
which is an
House.
argument for me too, but we'll cross that bridge later.
Right.
I
We
mean,
were
what?
calling it the Criminal Injustice Committee the
Yeah.
other
That's
day.
right.
Mhm.
It's so hostile,
Yes.
and none of the bills have been given a fair hearing at all. So, you want to talk about just your
Yeah,
experience
no, look,
sitting in
the
that
first the
committee?
first year was very again, keep in mind I was a new legislator at the
Right.
time.
These are your colleagues.
Yeah, and although I'd seen some of the faces during the redistricting session that threw me way, and I've been involved in politics in some form or fashion for over 20 years, but to be in it, I was like, where are we living in this place, right? And so when it got to the committee, even leading to that date, the tricks that they were pulling, oh, we can't do it this day. But they told us like the night before they couldn't do it that day. So,
Yep.
people need, and we're going to put it on next week. People need to reschedule their dates and putting us on the same day with Right to Life.
And just so people understand too, then ordinarily the process with all committees is if you are the proponent of the bill, the legislator who is proposing the bill, then the committee will work with you to schedule it when it's convenient for you so that then your witnesses can
show
be
up.
there.
Absolutely.
And that courtesy was
not
completely
given.
disbanded.
No, not given to us. And I think it was like the third date just so happened to be the date of Right to Life now. And I tell people this: when you do me wrong, I am a chosen child. He will get your ass back. And it ended up also being Delta Sigma Theta Day.
That's
I
right. That's
remember.
right.
Right?
That was great. It's coming
It
back
was
to me.
so fabulous. And I got to talk to the Deltas that morning. And when I tell you they lined that committee, it was sitting on the floor at one point. They had opened up an overflow room. Michelle had her survey, remember? It was just that support for me to get through that. Because that was the first time I was telling it to the public, which was very difficult. And to look at them, not give a frick about it. It was
Yeah. And I mean,
alarming to me.
I remember that day when you were testifying and then when other survivors, who had come to support the bill.
Do you remember the feed going out 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that? I was like, what the frick are these people?
I remember them just most of the committee not being in the room.
They
Yeah.
literally
They just-
got up and walked out
They walked in the back, yes.
to not listen to
Me.
you and
And others.
and the other survivors.
Here's some of that testimony.
Testimony is on behalf of Reverend Deneen Robinson. My daughter was gang raped at the age of 17 on her way home from school. She knew one of the boys. She thought they were friends, but the other boys were his friends. She kept it a secret except for telling me she needed to go to the doctor. To think as in addition to the harm she suffered, that she may have had to parent a child that would have resulted from this rape was incomprehensible. She simply would not have survived it.
In this committee a lot, there's a lot of talk about supporting victims and that this committee tries to make decisions to support victims. If you are forcing rape and incest survivors in Louisiana to carry forced pregnancy, you are not supporting victims.
It was incredibly disrespectful. It was disgusting.
It was. And they always say, I mean, that there's some truth to this, that there's multiple hearings going on, yada, yada. So not everybody's on the dais all at the same time.
They were right in the back.
They
though.
were.
It wasn't like they had left the area.
No.
They stayed just in the, I don't know what they call those holding rooms. What I call it, the holding
Like
room.
cowering in the corner
Yeah.
of the hall,
Mhm.
basically.
But
Yeah.
they were ready to come back in and
To
vote
vote.
That's
against,
right.
Absolutely.
against the bill.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was incredibly disrespectful, obviously. But it was also, to me, it was just sitting there watching it. It was so obvious that they were so uncomfortable. Many of them wanted to vote against the bill and had no qualms about it. But many of them, I don't believe that is how they truly.
So the second year, I know for a fact that that's not how everybody felt. I watched Vincent Cox with tears in his eyes.
Right.
And then come to me after so I could make him feel better about this. But you still voted? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about that because I know that you have had a lot of conversations
yeah.
with colleagues on both sides of the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And so how have those conversations gone? Do you think that there's more support for that bill than
Yes, than that's shown?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what I do know without any hesitation in saying that even the ones that now get it, if the governor says no, they're going to vote no. If you hear what I'm saying and you know it's a good bill, then vote for it.
And to me, it's so clear, and we have talked a little bit about how this is going on in other red states too, that, you know, they're sending these bills to this committee to die intentionally.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the message is being sent to those legislators from the governor and from the overlords at the Right to Life. Do not let this bill or the other ones that we've worked on with trying to get, you know, better maternal health exceptions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't let it out of this committee because they know that if it hits the floor, like the Republicans are going to be in a huge bind because
Right.
their people want to vote for it
Right.
because the people
Want it.
like by huge numbers support
Absolutely.
rape and incest
Because I think your numbers were like at 60-something%.
higher.
statewide? I believe it was 73%
Okay, because
support.
somebody from Tulane sent me one too that was a little higher than yours even. So, I mean, overwhelmingly, people in
Yes.
Louisiana want it.
Including Republicans.
Well, that's why I'm getting ready to go with that. One of them came and said, look, I hear you, I get it, but we just got word from the governor. So I called us, I'm going to change the age. They're going to vote it down.
Right.
I really want to make them just look, you know, because he was point blank that they were instructed not to
Support it.
And they were instructed not to allow any amendments to the bill. That was last year. Right. So that's when, you changed the age to make it minors, victims who are minors. And then also, I remember this was great. Then, you know, there's been a lot of policy issues with rape and incest bills, whether to have a law enforcement reporting requirement, as you know, because in real life, then having that kind of requirement basically like eviscerates any usefulness.
Yeah, absolutely.
To survivors.
Yeah.
But you proposed an amendment in committee then to like, okay, we're gonna lower the age to be minors, and we're gonna put in a law enforcement reporting requirement. And I mean, that was one of my favorite
Well, because I knew that because every BS, and I told Michelle, because I think she was nervous. I was like, they killing it anyway.
Yeah.
I just want to make them look as worse as we possibly can.
They were like, oh, do you remember this?
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do.
No,
they
no.
were talking to each other. They were like, oh shit. Like this is what we've said needs to be in this bill. And then
and now she's doing it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it was really strategic. I was
I gotta remember
the trolling was good. But the governor had said, don't allow any amendments. And so they got real confused up there in the dais. They're like whispering to each other, like, oh shit, this was our excuse.
Well, and here's the
voting
deal
for
when he
this.
was like, I don't want any amendments on it. Of course you don't, because then you look like a liar. However, how do you vote down me saying, well, let's make it for minors?
Yeah.
How do you vote that down and then still have to go back and vote against the bill? Right. Well, you know,
Exactly.
they get one of the new stupid people to say something about the law part of it. Well, you're stupid for saying it, but since you said it, let's add that in too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there was a lot of fuckery. That I thought that yes, you handled that strategically really well. I was very amused. But then also you'll recall there was basically just like a simple drafting error in terms of what statute was cited in your bill.
Which pissed me off, by the way, because I'm trying to figure how that happened.
The statute that had been cited in the original bill was just a little broader than what you had intended. So it would have been other sexual crimes too. So they make a big deal about this on the committee, like a big deal.
Yeah, we had to move the day, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what pissed me off. And I remember talking to you in the hallway afterwards that like that is a simple drafting error. I had Gwyneth, another lawyer in my office, like, look up what the right bill number is, text it to me. We had that within
Right.
5
Well, I was
minutes.
calling Zach, like, Zach, how do you screw this up?
But they fucked with you and with us so much that they use that as an excuse to reschedule the bill for a different day, as opposed to what normally happens, which is just like, hey,
on the
let's
scene, they do it and we vote.
just move it 5 minutes later in the fucking agenda and just like find the right statute number. It was like they made it seem like, well, what are we gonna do now? I mean, what are we gonna do? I guess everyone has to come back a different day.
And that is, that's the tactic to do that, because then you won't have all the support on the second day.
Well, I think that one of the things that's been really alarming, and we're seeing how this works nationwide now with the Trump administration, but we've been experiencing this in Louisiana, which is they're not following the rules, the process, any of that anymore.
On nothing. So we could expect that just across the board, because the new thing is you do what you want to do and then say, oh, I'm sorry later. Right?
And no professional courtesy
none at all.
The Republicans now have a super majority in both of our houses, in the House and the Senate. Then they just go along with the fucking stuff, like the improper rules, like just either lie about what the rules are, or if they get called out, then they're like, their people will vote for whatever they're being told.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really,
as
a lawyer, it just, the process stuff makes me crazy. I mean, the substance stuff makes me crazy, but I'm like, you can't even follow the fucking rules.
Right.
Come
No.
on.
They're just making
them up as they go, really.
Well, and I think that's
like, you have the vote, right? Like, at least follow the rules to make this seem like that there is some
legitimate
fairness.
process.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
The lack of just like what the culture and professional courtesies used to be
is gone.
And that's dangerous too.
Let me tell you, it's dangerous all around. Not just what I'm seeing with the Republicans, and I'm probably gonna get dogged for this, but I gotta say it. Some of the Dems,
Yeah.
you're sitting back like, what the
say it.
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah.
But I'd rather keep them and help me get rid of one of these 73 who always vote against us.
I agree, but it is hard.
But it's hard to do when you're looking at them selling their soul for a steak dinner. Ain't much shit you're gonna get.
Yeah.
One of them was like, oh, we're gonna get 1.7 million. I said, I got 4.5 for a sidewalk. What are you gonna do with 1.7 million? If you get it. Because it wasn't like they got it immediately. They're gonna get it the session.
Okay.
During the fiscal session. You want the snake to be something else other than the snake.
Well, and also, what is 1.7 million to
your
your
district
district going to do when people are losing Medicaid coverage, when people are losing, public education? You're supporting their effort to make things worse in your district. You should take that $1.7 million and just cut checks to the people in your district, because they're going to need it.
They need it right now.
Yeah.
They need it before the 1.7.
Yeah.
That's been more of a struggle for me than what the Republicans are doing, because I expect nothing less.
Right.
And I think I shared that with you last year. They're going to be who they are. They're going to vote the shit down anyway. If this is the next even 5 years, we're doomed, where the Dems eat each other and they keep thriving on the Republican side, because they will get in the room and they disagree like we do. But when they walk out, they don't want to court.
That's right. I mean, we see this somewhat on the national level too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think people don't realize in the South, though. I mean, there are plenty of Democrats that, occasionally we can count on them for votes. Occasionally,
because you are doing us a complete injustice. Because I believe you're taking back our conversations too much.
Oh yeah, no, there's real trust issues with some folks. I mean, we talked about that plenty during the session about who can we trust? When are we rolling information out to various people?
Sometimes I'm sitting looking in amazement when we're on the floor. It's just more apparent on the floor than it is even in committee. And I guess because you're moving around from committee, so you're not privy to every committee hearing on what's
Mhm.
going on, I'm like sometimes just looking like, wow. And it's not wow at the Republicans. I expect them to be exactly who they are, which is why I'm able to have a conversation with them because I know who you are.
Right.
Right. You're going to be who you are, but let's see if we can have some type of civil conversation about what your thought process is, how you got there, and what mine is. But I'm looking at people who are supposed to have similar values
Mhm.
and ideals and are concerned about, especially here in our city. 42% of our citizens live at or below the poverty level. What kind of shit are you voting on?
Mhm.
Really?
So
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that. I was
Mhm.
saying to Michelle, Delisha's trying to leave us. She's trying to leave us for the city council, which I'm
I
sad, but I
think
understand
we need
why. Yeah.
someone strong enough to fight for New Orleans,
Mhm.
who is not afraid to push back on the governor. I remember during the tax session, one of the damn said, "Oh, did the governor call you to come up to talk?" I said, "He wouldn't call me."
Yeah.
I would wear
And
that
they
as a
look,
badge of honor.
yes,
Yeah.
I said,
He doesn't call me either.
he wouldn't call me because there's no part of his brain that thinks he can change my mind on anything.
Because you're not willing to take some bullshit crumbs.
No.
Yes. Or some like vague promises of like,
No.
we'll take care of you. We'll put you on this committee. We'll do. I mean, that's what frustrates me the most. And this is true federally with Democrats that sell out
Mhm,
too, is
mhm.
that like you are selling yourself real cheap, man. Like you can't trust these
You heard what
people.
I said, a steak dinner.
Yeah,
Someone just take me
right.
to dinner. Take them to stabs and it's all
Yeah.
that's needed, you know. Well, I'm allergic to almost everything, so I can't eat the shit anyway. So, don't offer to take
You
me
can
out.
keep your dinner.
Yeah.
Asshole.
That's right.
That's my new life, just allergic to everything. But so I don't suspect that we'll get anything different this session. Definitely gonna file the exception bill. I'm definitely gonna file ending employment discrimination for the LGBTQ.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because that's also a bill that is incredibly important, but also contentious, and you filed it every year.
Session, yeah. Well, my niece came to me when she was, I think, in 9th grade, and told me she was gay, and I said, okay, well, shit, I still love you. Not that she wasn't getting the support at home. Her mother is just not me. My brother lives in Dallas, and she had a hard freaking time in Kenner, right there in Kenner. Just she switched schools 3 or 4 times, and I watched her change. Just the little girl that she was, and how living in this world as a Black gay female changed who she is now.
Because it changes, everything about how the world is treating her.
And I guess just being in Kenner was heightened. And a couple of times I went to the school, I tell her mom to stop calling me because her mom was like, I just don't want her to make it work. How can it get any worse? She's calling, crying every fucking day. And you might not fight, but I do.
Right.
Like I actually told one of the principals, they're not fighters, but I am. Like I would come in and beat their ass and wait for their mama and dad to come and beat their ass too. Like she just
I'm
wants
a
to
proud
get
aunt as well, so I feel
she
you.
just wants to learn and get her lesson. I'm not gonna have her calling me horrified, crying, and just making up reasons why she can't go to school. And like every freaking year, she would just have these health things that she couldn't go to school. But nonetheless, it's. I guess year before last, she called. She goes, TT, I just wanted to tell you thank you for loving me. I said, wow, I'm so emotional today. Y'all make me sick. And thank you for always fighting for me. I said, I will.
Yeah.
I will.
So this is a non-discrimination in employment.
In employment, yeah. There's just so much wrong in this state that not everybody will pick that bag up to carry. But those two are personal for me. So I'm gonna it's never not an option for me with those two.
Well, and as you know, I mean, you're right. Those are contentious issues, but you have a lot of support from your people
Mhm,
because it's
mhm.
personal for a lot of people,
Yeah,
either
yeah.
themselves or family members,
Yeah.
that have seen how either these abortion bans or how anti-LGBTQ policies, whether official or unofficial,
Mhm.
are really,
You
hurting
know
not
what I
just our
tell
youth
people,
but
like
our
the
community.
testimony against the LGBTQ community. You got to know at one time that's how they testified against Black
I'm
people. That's how
sure
they testified against women,
Jewish people. Yeah.
Jewish people. You know, like it is LGBTQ right now that's holding that torch, but we're all extensions of that, and because we're all extensions of that, we should all be fighting for that. You can't have one group of anyone that's being treated unfairly and then think that it won't apply to you. It's a circus.
And
And if it,
dehumanize it.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's a freaking circus. And if it hasn't come to a town near you, it's coming.
The testimony and stories that come out with the rape and incest bill and the maternal health bills in terms of what's going on with, patients and doctors and survivors is extremely emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't know that I've seen as emotional of hearings as I have seen at our legislature with the LGBTQ, the
It is
anti-LGBTQ things.
ridiculous.
It's just
What's his name used to be elected? A little short, kind of stubby, just mean, hateful. What's his
I
name?
feel like that describes so many of
I
them.
know.
But
But he was an elected official before. Okay.
Woody?
Yes.
Oh, Jenkins. Oh,
Let me
Woody
tell you,
Jenkins.
He's
first year.
hateful person.
Yes, my
Yeah.
first year, his testimony was so. Go back and look at that tape. It was so funny. So you know how you get up from the table and you let the. So he was just so fucking vile that I was like, you know
And
what?
he's a pastor. This is like,
Yes.
he's a
Let me-
former Louisiana representative.
Yes.
And like
It was so bad, Ellie, that I was like, fuck him. I'm going back. That's my tape. So I went and sat next to him. And then I spread my elbows. I was touching him. Because I was like, I know this bitch wants to die right now. I'm touching him.
I love
He was just so mean and hateful.
A person may choose to have a different gender identity, but the employer also has rights and gets to choose. These are choices. These are not something like race or sex that it has just fallen in your lap. We're talking about things like hiring teachers. We're talking about all the ramifications. And by the way, if you read the bill, it absolutely prohibits you from failing to hire someone. That's the whole purpose of the bill. So now you have to hire transgender people and people based on gender identity. Now, what is their gender identity? They may be identifying as male or female, right? You're just opening Pandora's box to tell all the employers, the tens of thousands of employers in this state and every governmental body, every school system, every parish government, every city government, that they can't discriminate based on what is, quite honestly, a mental problem.
But I think everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, she's gonna explode," because I have, you know, you've seen this look before. You can't read what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm just dead face. But I could not take the things that he was saying, so I was like, somebody has to make him feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And since they won't do it, let me just get up and push up and sit next to him and just, what are you doing? Like, why are you sitting there? And late, I was like, because I needed him to know that this is my tape.
That's right. I love
Yeah,
that.
you know.
I love that.
And when I did it, he wrapped up his little ignorant shit and moved on. But I was like,
It was a good flex.
yes.
Yeah.
I just, oh my God. In 2023, that's what 2022 really. That's where your head is right now.
I know. No, that's
Fat ass, go home and take care. You know, just your days are numbered. You know,
Yeah.
you're already on the other side of 60. What, you're gonna be evil
I
all the way
know.
till your death?
Yeah. And
It was
and
just-
hateful. Yeah.
And hateful.
And people, and this is, of course, after people have told harrowing stories, I mean, personal stories of like their own experience being discriminated against, or the people that saved their lives, teachers who saved their lives, all of that type of testimony from the LGBTQ community.
When I'm like that in committee, it is because I won't let my alter ego come out. Delilah would fuck everybody up over there. So I'm like in a battle with myself.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
You know what I mean?
You know me
Like,
well enough. I'm in a battle with myself
yes,
too. Like,
I'm in a battle
be
with
professional.
Yes. Don't be up here being all crazy, flipping over tables and shit. Sit down.
You are very good at managing your facial expressions. I intentionally, when we're in those committee rooms, I know exactly where to sit to make sure I'm not in the background on the video feed because I have one terrible resting bitch face, but also I just can't stop myself from rolling my eyes, or
I don't. I mean, yeah,
Michelle,
but that's fine.
let me tell you again. We kind of talked about this before. I was a mad fucking kid most of my life, right? And even after my grandmother just started trying to take me back on this side, so she pulled me out of Samuel James Green and put me in a little small Catholic school, like 6 blocks from my house. But even then, like, it was a different environment. I remember thinking to myself back then, like, where are these fucking people from? They're all just, and everybody, like today, I know everybody had some issues going on, but to come in and to see these people functioning like a family, I was like, just whatever, but always just one step away from if you say the wrong thing, you're gonna get punched in your face, kind of. I'm being very honest. I'm not proud of it, So it took me a while not to allow other people to control
Right.
me.
Yeah.
And so, but Delilah's still in there, right? She's just someone, she wants to flex sometimes. So when I get like that with those people, it's usually because I'm in a struggle. Not to say fuck you, and fuck your mom. Like really. It is a struggle sometimes.
So yeah.
And so it comes out with me being emotional. It's different from what you guys just got just now. Because now I'm in a safe space, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so for me as a lawyer, then what's so hard with all of this is that, each of those hearings, like it's like preparing for trial, like where you don't know what the date's going to be and you're preparing for a bunch of different trials at the same time. You got to get people there who are ready to speak, present our side, and then respond to the other side. But it's a trial that you don't get to fucking cross-examine anybody. So that's what I'm sitting there being like, oh, just like, so we have to rely on the committee. They're the only people who can question witnesses. And at least if it's your bill, you get to close too.
Yes.
I mean, when we're opposing bills, then I'll go up there, of course, and be like, this that they said is a lie, this that they said is a lie, this was bullshit, here's a bunch of other stuff to know, which everyone on the committees are like, whatever, who cares?
Right.
Whatever, Miss Schilling. But then, Ben Clapper, Dorinda Boardley, all the people on the other side, they go back up and just repeat the same lies or say something that, in response to what I said, that like should engender more questions, and it doesn't.
Right,
and this is where I'm just like, this is the only way this process works is if people on the committee are paying attention, well informed, and willing to ask questions and push back. And when that doesn't happen, then I want to jump out of my skin.
No, right.
So Ben Clapper, for our listeners, is the director of the Louisiana Right to Life, and he basically tells all of these anti-abortion, conservative, mostly Republicans, how to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you probably do know how many people just don't even read a bill at
Yeah.
all. They were actually only able to ask questions because of Ben Clapper sending the questions to them. They have never
we
picked up
send
the
questions too.
That often are not asked.
That's
yes, but and that's the point of the committee process, right? I mean, it's very obvious on the floor a lot of times how shit gets slipping through the cracks, which is worrying, because but that's sort of understandable because there's so many bills.
Yeah.
And there's lots of strategy where they're trying to slip things through the cracks. But the committee process, like by design, is supposed to be vetting these things.
Right.
And it's not a million bills, I mean, it's a lot, but depending on the committee, but to do your job, that's all you have to do is know those bills. We disagree with our current governor, but he was elected without a runoff
Without a
because
runoff.
people just didn't fucking vote.
You cannot run a statewide election from April to October.
No.
It wasn't
Well,
gonna
you
happen.
also should not be running the year after Roe was overturned and abortion has been banned in Louisiana and not ever say anything about that throughout the entire election.
No.
I think that a lot of people who really, really care about that issue would have turned out to vote if they knew that they were voting for someone that was going to be a champion.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
People have lots of things to complain about, legitimate things, but they don't know who does it. People are like bitching about stuff, like putting stuff on Biden and Kamala, and I'm like police
No.
stuff. I'm like, dude, this is not the president. The president doesn't do that.
90% of the calls I get in my office have nothing to do with what I actually do.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah.
90%.
But they do have to do with something that somebody does, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
And some of that, like when you're a statewide, a state rep, you're going to get just a lot of like the roads suck, the sewage and water board sucks, that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, what worries me the most is, as you know, how much happens at the state level and the local level, which is why you're running for city council, not at the national level. So the most of the like meat and potatoes stuff that people are
right here.
concerned, that's right.
Election
It don't matter. I mean, you should vote for the presidential election, but it doesn't fucking matter.
You should vote in
It
every
does not.
election.
And the ones that are here, who is in Baton Rouge representing us, who is at our city council representing us, that's who's making the policies.
Right.
90% of the policies that affect people's everyday lives in Louisiana are made in Louisiana.
Right.
That number might not be quite right, but I feel
pretty
strong
good.
about
Yeah.
that.
It may
A
not be
lot.
90, but it's
A
high.
lot.
I went to the year of the governor's election to a school in my district to register the 18-year-olds and the 17-year-olds that would be 18 by the election. And just talking to them about this predominantly African American school, about the struggles and what it took for us to even have the right to vote, and not very long before then. And I started talking about Bloody Sunday. I asked those babies how many of them had heard of Bloody Sunday. Not one.
No way.
One little boy raised his hand and said, "Miss Boyd, you mean Super Sunday?" No, baby, I'm not talking about the Indians. I'm not talking about the Indians. I'm talking, and the
really
tragedy in
embarrassing.
that is, yes, you're 17 and 18 years old, but I count that as being in our lifetime. Because that's 58 years ago. That means that's maybe your grandma, your mom,
Yeah, there are
or
people
somebody.
that are alive today that can tell
In
you
your
about-
family.
100%. Yeah.
In your family that should be telling you. So, we fight the book ban on keeping stuff out of the classrooms, that they ain't learning this shit anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't fight the book ban because it's insane, but I'm saying they're already not learning. So you can't you top that with not teaching civics anymore, which is really what they want. They don't want people to understand.
No,
what
it's
it
I mean
is.
it's a part, that's why it's really does worry me, and the book bans are part of it, but it is a part of a long-term anti-democratic, like small d democratic authoritarian playbook.
Yeah.
Like if you have a populace that is dumb and disengaged, you're uninformed and unengaged, then you can do whatever you want in government.
Yeah.
And that's the
That's
game
the
plan.
game plan. Yeah. So you have the less fortunate that don't know anything, and then you have this middle class group of people who I think a lot of them live like that. That ain't me though, because my kids go to Country Day, or my
Right.
kids go to Newman or McGee or whatever. And so I spoke to some trial lawyers. It's coming for you. You could sit around like you're thinking, I'm protected behind the gate where I live, and I drive this Mercedes Benz, and my I don't care about the education because my child's at Newman. They're coming for you too, though. Like that's the focus today, but they're coming for everybody, and until we wake up and realize that everything is at stake right now.
money can't buy you your rights. You know, you can travel, you'll be far better off than most people. But I mean, you know, I don't know. It's if people aren't
if
waking
you,
up, then
even if it's not about the money buying you your rights, if they're going to censor that, the goal will be they're going to touch something that's going to be more important to you too.
yeah,
Like when you give the government that much power over what they can do in your household, it won't be just that.
yeah,
You know, and I can't get people to understand, like, yes, I'm fighting for reproductive rights. You can't imagine the amount of emails I get. Basically, like I'm fucking crazy because you wouldn't be here, if abortion was legal. Well, I didn't ask you. I asked one, but two, my experiences does not give me the right to dictate what Michelle has to do with her family.
And overwhelmingly, that's how people feel about it. Even if they personally would not have an abortion, are opposed to abortion personally, they do not think that the government should be the one making that decision for other people.
Right.
And we didn't really talk about this at the beginning, but I think that it is important. That's sort of the nuance behind why you decided to share your story, is that, you know, what we so often hear in an opposition to rape and incest exceptions is like, don't punish the child, you know, punish the rapist. An exception that would allow people to just decide what's best for them is like then anti-child, because there's a pregnancy at stake.
It's simply an injustice to apply the death penalty to an innocent child that may be conceived in these cases.
We believe that the perpetrators of rape and incest should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, but that an unborn child born in that situation should not be given the punishment that the rapist should have.
That child that was raped, where's your pro-life for that
That's
kid?
right.
What you want me to do is sit down and basically trade a life for a life still. Right?
Yeah.
Because my mother didn't make it. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So you want me to tell you that I should say fuck her life because I'm here.
And also,
how's that pro-life?
And
You know,
ignore nuance. Like, that's why I appreciate your story and the way that you tell it so much, because to me, that's what's always lacking from the other side, is that it's like, it's just, everything is like just black and white, right and wrong, that ignores what people's actual lives are like, you know? I mean, and that the flip side, of course, like if someone wants to go through with a pregnancy, keep the baby, give the baby up for adoption, do whatever, no one's going to stop you from doing that.
Right. I'm not
right
going to
decision
make
for
the
you and your
9-year-old
fa-
go have the
Yes.
abortion.
Yes.
I'm saying it should be up to that family.
Yes.
On
Because ain't nobody know what's going on in that family.
Ain't nobody knows.
Like,
right. Nobody knows what's going on. But what I can tell you, just the thought of it, a 9-year-old.
I know.
What is going on in America?
And that the government is going to force that child and that family to carry a pregnancy to term no matter what.
Yeah. But won't feed them.
Oh yeah. No,
That's right.
and also
Turn down $36 million from the federal government to feed kids over the summer.
That's right. That's right.
You know, kill the education system.
My mom always says this, that, you know, that this sort of the pro-lifers and their, you know, notion of like, well, just carry the baby to term and give it up for adoption. That in addition to, you know, the emotional toil that puts on a person, like, these people don't understand what carrying a pregnancy to term is like.
Yes.
And particularly if you have other children, people just like ignore that.
Yes.
Like just
altogether.
100%.
Right.
Like, well, you know, give the baby to somebody else and no big deal.
Representative Boyd, I think we're going to wrap things up.
Anything else you want to tell us before we wrap? This will air after the pre-filing deadline. So anything you want to highlight?
Good. I talked about those two bills. I'm going to also run one for mental health with college students. I did a mental health symposium last summer, and listening to all these chancellors and presidents on these kids having these mental health breaks in school. And we're seeing it a lot more than I can ever remember as a kid with these kids. And they've endured a lot, you know, the pandemic and whatever the reasons, it's so high right now. So I'm running that bill. I switched one out just recently for Caleb Wilson, the young man that was killed on the hazing.
Right.
Well, your district and all of Louisiana are extremely lucky to have you. We're lucky that you agreed to be
The guinea pig.
Yeah.
our first guest, and we would love to have you back.
Anytime. I love it. It was just like having, next time I think I'm going to have a cocktail too, though.
Yes.
It was just like hanging out with some friends. It was good. Yeah.
Well,
Great.
thanks so much.
Yes.
Thank you. That's going to do it for now. Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. You can follow us at Lift Louisiana. It's LIFT Louisiana on Instagram. And Ellie, tell us what else they can do.
Send us a voice message to Instagram. Tell us what made you go, seriously.
Yes, please send that. And also, we are going to put a petition in the show notes. If you would like to sign a petition in support of including an exception for people who are pregnant because of sexual violence into Louisiana's abortion ban, we urge you to sign that petition. And so look for that in the show notes. And
We'll see you next week.
bye.
Seriously is presented by Lift Louisiana, a nonprofit organization advocating for reproductive health rights and justice.